Hey guys, it's Karalynn Cromings, and welcome back to the Quit Getting Screwed podcast, where we talk about all the ways not to get screwed in the construction industry. And today I have a very special guest who's on a mission, just like me, to make the construction industry a better place. Miss Jennifer Todd. Good morning, Miss Jennifer. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for taking some time to be on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me today.
So I know that you have been recognized by the Construction Business Owners Magazine as outstanding women in construction. You've been to law school. You have such an impressive resume here. But before we dive into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the construction industry?
Sure. I have been in the construction industry now, make 16 years. In LMS, we are celebrating our birthday next week, and it's been 10 years since I started the company. Initially, I started off as a receptionist and just fell in love with the trades and continued to flourish throughout the industry and started my own company where we do demolition, disaster recovery work.
Awesome. That's pretty amazing. And you were a speaker at Con Expo 2023. That's pretty huge.
Yeah. I actually had two sessions. One was about leveraging relationships, and the other one was about the impact of opportunity. So it was a great turnout with both. I was very pleased.
Yeah, that's an amazing honor that show what happens every 3 years, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty. So tell us a little bit more about LMS General Contractors, like when you started it, why you started it. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, for me, I don't have a story of, family business or anything like that. It was really out of necessity. I was living in Los Angeles, and I just really wanted to change and really wanted to take the next stage in my career. And I began to interview with a lot of the large general contractors and was kind of repeatedly rejected. And what I found out was that I didn't really look or fit the part. And so that was the feedback that I was getting, that was like, yes, you've got a lot of experience, but we don't have anyone that looks like you, that's your age, doing this. So, give it a couple of years, do this position first, and then you can grow into that. And it didn't really make sense to me why I would go back just to start again. So after a lot of thought and prayer about it, my husband said, just start your own thing. You have a company that's already set up. You're not using it. Just do that. And so really, that's how LMS started. And so we are based in South Florida. We do large scale demolition, environmental, asbestos, lead, and mold, and FEMA disaster recovery. So helping those nonprofits and local municipalities that have been impacted by a natural disaster, we do the consulting aspect to help them restore their facilities and contents.
So you do the consult. So was that like an area you picked out, or did you kind of end up there?
I actually started off doing the FEMA disaster recovery work initially, but prior to that, when I worked for other companies, we were doing demolition. And so that's how I kind of merged the two. I enjoy helping people, but I also enjoy being in the field. And so I really missed doing the actual demolition work and being hands-on with the trades itself.
Gotcha. So do you still do that in your day-to-day business now?
I am not in the field as much. I am more so in the office and lots of meetings. So not as much as I would like to be, but hey, as long as it's getting done, I'm okay.
Gotcha. And you also started an apprenticeship program.
Yes, we did.
Tell me about that.
Initially, we started A Greener Tomorrow within LMS. And what we found was that we were doing a lot of housing project works. And within the housing projects, regardless of the city or state that you live in, they're women predominantly are living there. And so as part of living when you're residing and doing work, when you're doing work there, basically, they have a Section 3 program. And the Section 3 program are for residents of the housing projects. So as a contractor, you're responsible for reaching out to Section 3 people and ensuring that they have an opportunity to perform work on the projects. A lot of contractors said, they're women. What are we supposed to do with them? Surely they can't do construction work outside of janitorial services. And of course, we found that not to be true. So we did an outreach and we told them, hey, we're doing asbestos work. If you're interested, come. And the women came and they were doing the work. I mean, we're talking popping floor tile, pulling drywall. And we realized that, hey, people actually want to work when given the opportunity, whether they're male or female. And the program really expanded from there. And so we've had a success rate of over 80%. Over 30% of our workforce are women. And we just realized that it was really a niche to tap into the women, because they are responsible people, they have children, they have responsibilities. And so the 25-year-old single mother is more inclined to show up than a 25-year-old man that stays at home with his mother. So
No, absolutely. And I think the same is true. And I think women don't usually look there because they're kind of afraid, just like people are afraid to have them in. But I do think that we could be very good in those trades. And the other thing too is to try to get the training when you're a single mom. So, trying to go to work and learn that, and trying to take care of your kids at the same time. We have an extra level of things to take care of.
yeah, and we were really cognizant of that. Just being a woman, I understood, hey, you may not be able to make it here at 8 or 9, or maybe not till 9:30 because you've got to drop your kids off, or there's a play, or someone's sick, or you may have to leave early for daycare or after school care. And what we saw was that, hey, it was more important for us to retain good workers, even if you had to leave an hour or an hour early or come an hour late. That's better. I'd rather have you for those 6 to 7 hours than someone that isn't that great for 8 hours. And so that's really how we looked at it.
Yeah, and you're getting more effective work product in those 6 to 7 hours than you are in somebody that doesn't want to be there at all.
Yes.
So is that still an ongoing program that you have today?
Yes. And so now A Greener Tomorrow is a 501c3. And our goal is really to create awareness and access and education for the underserved population. So for women and minorities, we're working with high school students as well, introducing them to trades, as well as programs for the apprenticeship as well.
Gotcha. Now, I did read that you went to law school. So at what point did you do that, and why did you think that was important?
When I started LMS General Contractors, I had began my law school journey. Well, actually before then, while I was still employed with another company, I had looked into going to law school, and I actually started while living in Los Angeles. And I just wasn't there. I was doing an online program. It just was so much and so intensive. I mean, trying to take on a 1L while you're working full time, it wasn't the thing for me. And so I said, okay, well, we won't do it. I'll just move on. And when I started the company, I said, as a Black woman in this industry, I've seen the upheavals that both minorities face and women face in this industry, and I've got to be able to protect myself. Even as a small business, you often don't have the resources to hire a legal team or have a in-house counsel. That's just not even feasible when you're starting out, regardless of race or gender. It's just a small business, period. But the problem is, when you're talking about construction, is that the delay. When you're on a project, as you know, you don't have time to go through the process with the attorney to say, hey, this is the problem. You're facing liquidated delays, you're paying people, you've got materials on hold. So you're losing a lot of money in that time frame, that 72 to 48 hours time frame. And so I didn't want to go through that. And I also wanted to know exactly what I was doing. Through the previous jobs I've had, I did a lot of contracting and procurement as well as project management. So I really wanted to solidify my education in the event that I couldn't afford to bring on an attorney immediately. I wanted to know exactly what I was getting into. And so when I started the company, I started law school at Arizona State. So
that's pretty amazing. And so how successful have you been at negotiating your own contracts? I know that contractors struggle with that every day, and they didn't go to law school. I'm just curious, how's it been on your side?
I've had no lawsuits. So, and I've ensured that we've gotten paid. And, I think everything in our career is about timing. At that time, the initial time that I went to take the first program, it just wasn't a good fit. It wasn't the right time. And so I was glad that I was able to put that on pause, because no, I don't recommend going to law school while starting a company. That is insanity. But it was definitely, I have no regrets about the decision that I made. Arizona State University provided an awesome education. And when I went, it was different because I had the fundamental information. It's different when you can have the real world experience. Like when you're in college, you're just listening to what the instructor's telling you and you're trying to apply it. For me, I was successful in law school because I had gone through so many things in the field and on the job. I was able to apply that information to make it make sense for what I was doing. And it really helped me tremendously.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How's it been for you? How's it been over this last year when people are coming and going? How have you weathered that? I'm very curious.
I have been this, if we're speaking just respectively of the past year, I've been very, very fortunate that the phone is always ringing. We have amazing clients that we build solid relationships with. And again, this is year 10 for us. And so we've kind of gotten into our flow. We've made a couple of changes. Like I said, this past year and a half, we're doing a lot more construction work, construction management and disaster recovery work, more than demolition work. And I'm okay with that because I still enjoy that work as well. But the entrepreneurship journey has been, it's been challenging. It's definitely a challenge.
Gotcha. So tell me, how have your leadership skills evolved as you've been into this role?
Leadership skills have definitely evolved. Before I started, I was one of those individuals that wanted to take on everything. Like I didn't trust anyone. It wasn't going to be done to my satisfaction or the way that I wanted it done. And I had a huge problem with delegation. And, you know, when you begin to suffer the burnout and you are just angry and mad and upset that things are just not going your way and you're losing people, then it has to come to a question of what am I doing wrong and what can I do better? And I leaned into mentorship and I got a coach and did the things I needed to do. Now, I still like things done my way, but I understand now, look, it's more important for it to be done than perfect. If someone else can come up with a better idea that is more resourceful or quicker or that works for them, it's more important for me that, hey, it's done and it's complete. I don't care how it gets done. Just do it the right way. Make sure it's ethically done, but do it and ensure that it's done. And I just take my hands off of it.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, especially when you start and it's yours and this is the way you want things done. And it's very, and you're talking high stakes in the business that, in the construction industry. It's never a small mistake.
Oh yeah.
Usually
Yeah, I've had some costly mistakes, and I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, even million, that have been lost because I was taking on too much and doing too much, and versus just getting the help that's needed. Often as entrepreneurs, we have to learn how to make that shift from entrepreneur to business owner and employer, and that's much different than just being a one person show. You have to get the help that you need so that you can work in your zone of genius.
No, absolutely. And like you said, it's hard but no, delegating the things that you're not good at. But I just know over the last year, I know that I've had gone through and I've heard people trying to find good employees and keep good employees. And what I've learned is that when there are a lot less people and people really need to hang on to their jobs, it hides a lot of leadership flaws, right? But when people can go down the street and find another job, your leadership flaws stand out and you really have to work on improving. And like for me, one of the biggest things was clarity of what's expected. How do you do that with your team? How do you show them what's expected?
Well, I'm in a unique position because most of the jobs that are required within my company, I've done them before. And so the good thing about it is that I understand what the job is that I'm assigning the task. I have an idea of how long it takes and what needs to be facilitated to do it. So it's a little different for me in that instance, but really just letting people shine, asking them more questions about what they're good at, what they're interested in, because I find that people are more prone to do their best work if it's something that interests them, and making sure that they have autonomy over the task. I don't want to micromanage you. I don't want to just be on you. If you say that you're going to give it to me at that time, or check in with me and just communicate that you're not able to meet that timeline or deadline, but I really want the person to feel like it's their own task.
Gotcha. And then do you have a strategy, or what is your strategy for having the hard conversations? Because I know new employees come on, even your favorite employees, they're going to be things that they step out and they're going to test boundaries. What's your, how do you handle that?
For one, I'm going to ask if it's something that's related to the job, as if there's a distraction, or if there's something that you're concerned about or upset about. Is it job related, or is it not job related? Is it something personal going on in your life that's impacting your work? And oftentimes it's something that has nothing to do with the job itself. A lot of times it's something personal that people are going through. So just giving people that grace and space to be compassionate, but also to check in with them to make sure that they feel supported during the task. If it's work related, then it comes down to, what's the problem? Is it that you don't understand the task, or is it that you're not interested, or, is it that a teammate issue, or, dialing into what the actual issue is so that we can remedy it and get it done, because essentially we're all on the same team. So we have the same goal, and we need to support one another through the process.
Absolutely. Okay. So you're also a speaker. How did you get involved in that role? Was it natural to you? Did you have to, tell me a little bit more about that.
I'll say all of the above. I do have a history of speaking and debate and things like that in my younger years, but really just when the pandemic hit and I saw the things that were occurring, and I saw the lack of social awareness throughout the construction industry, which, being both a double minority as a Black woman, I witnessed this every day. But after the George Floyd situation, I just was like, people are still going on like nothing's happening. And it's like, there's a whole nother world that's happening for Black people in this country. Like, how can you just talk about the weather? Like, what's going on? And really, that was really the spinoff of it, of just being more vocal about the disparities that are in the construction industry, what women have to deal with when it comes to sexual harassment and gender bias and lack of promotion. I mean, what Black contractors face with not being hired, and as subcontractors, being starved out of jobs, not being paid on time. And so I'm just kind of waving two flags here of like, hey, we have to be more cognizant of what's going on, and let's call a spade and be honest about what's going on. So.
Absolutely. And, especially in an industry that's losing workers, that can't keep workers, how do we work on fixing this? Where do we start? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I've got plenty of ideas, and often organizations hire me to speak exactly about that. We are facing a huge labor shortage. By 2025, they're saying that we need 500,000 workers. We have a million worker shortage today. And the problem is that for so long, the construction industry has been allowed to be a bit archaic in the way that it does business. It has no regulations. No one's holding their feet to the fire. And so what we see is that 85% of the construction industry are white males. The problem with that is that half of the population, we're talking 49% of America's population, identify as minority. And so how can we reconcile those two differences when, one, you have 85% of white males covering the industry? Second issue is the age of the average construction worker is 42. So people are not only, it's not racially diverse, but people are retiring and aging out. And we have done collectively a poor job of outreach to youth, outreach to women, and retaining women within the industry, and definitely poor outreach to minorities as a whole. When it comes to the marketing, when it comes to retention, when it comes to allocation of new employees. And so we have to get away from making it a DEI issue and understanding statistically that we have to reach those populations in order to fill the void, because it affects all of us if we don't have workers.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, like, what are some tactical things that we can do, or how can we, give me your top 3 tactical things that we could do?
Well, sure. 3 tactical things that can be done if we're talking about youth. The first thing is about getting online. If you're talking about Gen Z and millennials, they're spending 76% of them are online every single day. They're getting their news from Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. And so we need to shift our, efforts to reaching out to them, showing them videos, educating them about the trades and apprenticeship programs and salaries that are available. Because not everyone's going to college and not everyone's joining the military. So you don't have to work a minimum wage job. You can work a living wage job within the trades. The second thing is about women. Yes, they're pushing for more programs with women, but we need to roll it back and say, what can we do to stop the overturn of women that are repeatedly getting out of this field? It's not that women don't join the field, they don't stay in the field because they're not supported. You don't have proper PPE. They're experiencing sexual harassment. They are lacking the mentorship and opportunities to be the CEO and to be the president, outside of being the human resources lead or marketing lead, they can be the CFO as well. And so you have to support the existing group of women so that we can say, yes, this is a safe place. Come over here and join us. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to minorities, we just have to be open-minded at this point that we need more diversity within the field, that the field and construction sites across this country should reflect what this country looks like, and that is diverse. And we have to let go of the old ways in order to really bring forth new talent and new people. Because I'll share something with you. Overall, employees today, they are interviewing us like we're interviewing them. They want a place that they feel safe at. They're checking your social media and website to see if there's diversity, to see if this looks like a good place for me to work. And if you want workers, you need to create a positive workplace culture that's inclusive. And that's where we have to start.
No, absolutely. And I think it really starts from the psychology of the business owner and the attitude and if you reflect that, that'll be part of your company, right? And just showing that and showing that that's accepted and that's what you want. Is it we're all here to do a job, and as long as you can do the job, I'm all for, being on the team. Hang on, I had another question and I lost it.
Yes, I always say that my favorite color is green. So I don't care about we're in business to make money, and I don't care what the nationality of a person is. We have Asian, we have white, we have black, we have Hispanic people working for LMS, and it doesn't matter. It's about who is the most qualified, the most competent, who shows up for work every day, and who cares about the job that they do.
No, absolutely. And I'd like to see too what I've seen multiple women-owned companies in the construction industry, and most of their employees are women, right? And it's a great workplace, and they're flexible because it's usually run by a woman. So I would like to see more women step into those roles too, and not be afraid. And there's so many programs out there for minority business, opportunities to get jobs. Can you talk about it from the woman minority perspective?
Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities. The problem is, I think it's the bigger the project gets, the less opportunities that there are. And so when I hear large general contractors saying, we can't find workers, we can't find any minority subs, we can't find any women subs. And it's just like, if you're in Atlanta, DC, New York, Dallas, Houston, Austin even, and I'm like, you're not looking, because there's just no way. It's impossible, because I'm talking to other contractors, and we know that if they hire minorities and if they hire women, we have these conversations like, don't waste your time. That's not, they're not that friendly. Mm-hmm. So I think that the people at the top need to be aware of what's going on at the ground level or at the regional offices, because the CEO, yes, you have 1,000 employees or 500 employees, 2,000 employees, but you're not there every day. And so what you may say what you want, but that's not being communicated on that level, in these individual divisions and offices. So the best thing,
there's a level there too, that it is, those contracts are horrible. They're never contractor friendly. They're scary. And like one misstep, I think the industry as general just needs to change the whole contract. You read the things, they're garbage. And you don't know what you're signing, and then you take a step and you're taken out, and it's, and people get really scared.
I've seen that countless times, because You have to think about it. Like, how many businesses can you start where you don't have to have the certifications and things like that? You have
Yeah.
so many people that are handyman and they knew the trade, but they don't really necessarily understand the business. They don't understand what paid means. Like, yes, they look at this contract and say, oh, they make $500 million. Of course they can afford to pay you. Yes, they can. But what did you sign up for? What did you agree to? They're not hounding the owner for their payment because they have several projects that are keeping them afloat, versus you don't have those types of resources to afford you to not get paid for 60 days or 75 days. It's just, you don't understand what liquidated damages means, that, hey, if you don't get this done on time, you're paying $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
You don't understand the ramifications of, if someone goes against your bond, that you could possibly lose your bond, that you're paying for another contractor to complete the work. I mean, and how that affects your viability to continue to perform work.
No, absolutely. And that's what I'm out here screaming, because like nobody else is saying it. That's why it's
Yeah.
called Quit Getting Screwed, because there's so many, and don't be wrong, as a lawyer, I only see bad projects, but when I see bad projects, they're bad, and it's like they had no idea what they signed. And
No,
it's just, it can be, I think that part of the construction industry is part of the issue too, is that it's broken. I mean, you can't have the guy at the bottom of the totem pole be financing the job. It just can't work that way.
yeah, I've seen it so many times, and I've actually been in that position when I first started. And it's like, well, wait a minute here. You want me to show up to work every day? I'm shelling out all of this money, especially when you're talking about in today's market. If you are doing a public works project, you're talking about prevailing wage rates.
Mm-hmm.
And as a small contractor, you can't afford 4 to 5 weeks of payroll without any income in, because you've got to pay your vendors to keep showing up. You have to pay this top tier $40, $50 per person, and employment tax and state tax. It's just, it could absolutely take you down if you are not educated about what it is you're signing and what your limitations are.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And we want people to be successful, and explaining all this, and knowing what they're walking into, so that they can make it through. Because like you've made it through lots of ups and downs, and a small company sometimes just can't make it, and they don't, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like you said, it really is about the lack of education. It's not because they don't understand how to do the work or the scope of
Absolutely.
work. They could be the most fantastic tile setter, drywall, whatever it is, but it's that lack of a business acumen that they have, because you don't have sponsors or mentors to help you. A lot of times when minority contractors and women, we don't have those people that we can lean to for guidance, to say, hey, can you take a look at my contract and just tell me what this means, or what is this okay, or what should I agree to? Even if you read the contract, if you're not understanding the legal jargon, it doesn't mean anything to you, because you're not aware of what you're reading. So that makes such a difference in your ability to be successful.
No, absolutely. And I think even if we change to making it okay, keep all that stuff in there, but just make it plain English so everybody can understand what there's. I mean, how do you expect them to understand the contractors to understand what they're supposed to do when it's like in Latin?
Yeah, I mean,
Unless
AIA
you go to law
documents are
school.
just, or AIA contract documents are not the friendliest. And,
Mm-mm.
you know, uh, I think that general contractors, they could do a better job of making things simplified, but it's almost like, okay, well, you signed it, so
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. Exactly. I know. And it like I think, yeah. Anyways, that's my soapbox on that issue.
I'm right
We're
there
trying to
with
make
you.
change wherever we can, and that's one of the things I'm trying to work on, to at least inform everybody what they're signing so that they know the risk.
Yeah. And I always encourage people, if you don't have an attorney, there's so many attorneys today that are single firms or one or two person firms. Pay the $500 to have them review your contract. Pay the $1,000 to have them review your contract, because it will save you thousands of dollars. Redline it, whatever you need to do to protect yourself. But that is a better investment than getting in the project and trying to unwind the damage, because it's already been done at that
Yeah,
point.
and you can't, as much as you want to, you can't just walk away from it.
No.
It's just,
Oh, you
and
can, but you're going to pay.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then build the cost of a review into your bid price. That way
Yeah.
it's already covered. Good. Okay, so tell me, what does the future look like for LMS? I know you guys have like done already 5 million square feet of remediation and stuff. You guys are huge. Tell me, what does the future look like?
The future looks like I am not closing myself to anything. I'm just being open to what continues to flow to me. I'm pretty sure at this point we're going to be doing a lot more disaster recovery. We just signed a very large contract last week. And so I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And it looks like, you know, due to the global warming that they say that doesn't exist, the natural disasters just keep happening. And so unfortunately, but fortunately, we'll continue to be employed in that sector.
Awesome. Well, if people wanted to find out more about the apprenticeship program or LMS, where could they go to find out?
Definitely, they can go to a website, which is lmsgc.com, to learn more about myself and LMS and what we do, as well as Greener Tomorrow. And they can also go on LinkedIn, Jennifer Todd, MLS, and find out more about A Greener Tomorrow, the services that we offer, and just I share a lot of information weekly on there. That's my favorite platform.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope no one is getting screwed. So stop doing that.
Me too. All right.
Hey guys, Karalynn Cromings. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I've made a promise to never had paid ads in my podcast because I truly want it to be an educational series. But as part of that, then you're going to have to hear the things that I have to sell and then causes that are near and dear to my heart. I want to introduce you to a charity called Heroes for Children. They can be found at heroesforchildren.org. They are in the business of helping families with children who have cancer. And I think as a parent of healthy children, we take for granted the fact that our kids are healthy and we don't have to deal with a terminal illness or an illness that's going to change the way the family works. One parent's going to have to take off work and deal with being in the hospital all the time. So this charity is like immediate assistance, helping families with children who have cancer. So check it out, heroesforchildren.org. They're always having events at poker nights, easy ways to donate. So if you're getting anything at all out of this podcast, I ask that you give back in a way such as this. Go to heroesforchildren.org. Thanks.